Hey there, and welcome to this Vibrant Music Teacher Chat. This is the weekly show right here on YouTube where we bring you the latest music teacher news and goings on, some updates on what's coming up soon for music teachers like you, and we dive into a special topic. Today it's all about changing your lesson format and how you go about that in your studio. And we do some website reviews so that we can learn about marketing together. And we have our Ask Me Anything section at the end as well. If you have a question about anything at all, just let us know. Type the word question in all caps so that it's easy for me to search for it. And I will make sure to get to all of those by the end of the show. So today's special topic is all about changing your lesson format, and I want to hear from you. So are you thinking about a change to your lesson format? Have you tried this in the past and it didn't work? What are you changing to and from? Is it longer lessons? Is it a different way of doing lessons? Are you making some other change in your studio and you're hoping this will help with that? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. As we go through today's show, I'll be sure to help you with any queries you have in that area because it's something I've done several times in my own studio. So hopefully I'll be able to help you out today. Before we get there though, let's go through some of the latest news and catch up with each other. Alright, so in my personal update, and I would love to hear yours too, is that it's been a wild week here in the studio. So it's been full of goings on. We've had our concert on Saturday. Some of you might have seen that, posts on Instagram and stuff like that. On Facebook I also shared about that. So I did my recital on Saturday. It was a YouTube live recital, so something like this, which is why I am surrounded by our bunting and Christmas lights, multicolored fairy lights. So I decided to leave them up for you guys just for fun. There was actually more decorations. You'll see a little bit of them. See these? Those are pom-poms. I had even more of those up, and I started to take stuff down on Saturday after the recital, and I was like, oh wait, no, I should leave this up for the show on Monday. So that's why there's still some, but I didn't leave up all the pom-poms. There were more. Those of you that don't know, we have a little tradition in the Colourful Keys piano studio of doing pom-poms during our audience applause. And so in our online recitals, I do that job. But in person, I lend pom-poms to kids in the audience. So the parents generally clap and the kids do pom-poms so that the audience is colourful, right? Because we're Colourful Keys. So I do that job in our online recitals, and I have pom-poms and I wave them about. And if you want to see some screen grabs of me looking silly doing that in action, you can see those on Instagram. Now, always when I share about online recitals that I do, people tend to ask me whether they can watch it. So just to say right up front, you can't watch it because I do make those just for students, and that's part of, we have to be clear with parents about where we're sharing it, and so I say to them that I'm not going to share it publicly with other teachers, that kind of thing, so I don't. But as part of that recital, I did something extra fun at the end, and I shared the students' pieces that they created. So the students have been writing songs, and we share them. Every year we share their pieces that they compose in a book, and we put together this awesome book. Okay, I'm gonna grab it. Hang on one sec. I'll bring that to life. So this is the book that we created this year. It's Chatter and Tunes is what it's called, because they're all songs, right? And I described them as kind of like method book songs or folk songs. They're not like full pop songs, right? They're shorter songs than that, but it was still a really big and really fun project to put together that. And so we do that every year. We put together a book of their pieces. It's one of the things I love to do in my studio, and it's a special part of the year that we look forward to, and it's kind of like an end of year gift. Although I don't usually phrase it that way to students. Anyway, so as well as the book this year, I decided these are songs, and me playing them on the piano is not quite realistic. It's not bringing them to life enough. So I decided to get a singer to record the actual songs. And so I shared those with the students at the end of the recital on Saturday. So I said, okay, we're wrapping up the recital, but I have a special surprise for you to close it. And so the closing, I didn't come back on after this. I did running out, almost like the credits, except it was a full album, basically. It was like 35 minutes worth of music where I got the singer to record all of their songs. And I did the piano parts, I sent those to her, she recorded the vocals and combined them together for me. She was wonderful. And it was just so cool to bring that to life. So if you want to check those out, you can see that part of the concert. Those are available separately, and because students aren't on screen and stuff like that, it's not a privacy concern. So you can get to those if you're interested at colourfulkeys.ie/chatter. colourfulkeys.ie/chatter. Just if you're curious about that. Again, it's not, it's just for something I did for students, but it was a really fun project, and if you're looking to do something similar, you can definitely check that out there. Okay, so the concert went really well, and my other news is all the end of year stuff, right? May is just, every year, isn't it just so packed? And I'm prepared for it every year now. It's not a shock to the system anymore, so I do prepare things in advance and I make sure everything's going to run smoothly, but it is a lot, isn't it? So yeah, I've also just put together the newsletter and the books. The composing project ends now, the recital's just over, we need to do our progress updates. So the parent progress updates about how they're going with things for the end of the year. And then I'll be wrapping up. I have just 3 weeks left of teaching. And every time I realise that, it blows me away. It's madness. How long do you have left of teaching? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. Because we're wrapping up a little bit early since we didn't use any of our flex weeks or vacation days is essentially what those are. And so we're finishing mid-June, and yeah, 3 weeks left. That's it, folks. And then it'll be summer. It's totally crazy. Okay, so apart from all of that studio stuff, we also released some fun stuff on Colourful Keys. We have okay, all looks good. We have project management software podcast came out last week. We also had a great roundup post about maternity leave. So those of you who are in this situation or thinking about being, that is a great place to look. We got opinions from several different teachers who have been through this and what they did for the maternity leave or what they wished or what tips they have. So that is a great one to check out on the Colourful Keys blog if that describes you. And then we had project management software here on YouTube as well. So lots of stuff to keep you organized and get things ready for a new year. Next, let's look at some sneak peeks of what's coming up soon. So, coming up next week on the show, let's start here on YouTube. We're going to do mapping a model music parent. So this is a bit of a cryptic title, but I hope you'll come along to it. I think it's going to be really fun. I like to do these sort of odd, thought-provoking ideas from time to time. At least I hope they're thought-provoking. Maybe it's not for me to say, but it's going to be about a parent's journey to becoming a model music parent for you. So what are all the stages that a parent goes through before they end up as your favorite parents in your studio? How do they get there? That's going to be the question for next week. I'm really looking forward to that one. And then we have a podcast coming up next week about making a steady income as a music teacher, steadying your income, making it reliable. And then the week after that is going to be our 150th episode. I feel like I just started that podcast. I really do. And everything I say today makes me feel very old because I keep saying, but it's already this time, but it's already that. But 150 episodes, whoa. Because we've been doing the blog for so long, it just feels like the podcast is still the new thing to me. Although this show is actually the newer thing, I guess. And that's even, I don't know how many episodes we've done of this show. I'll have to count those up because we don't have numbers on them. But anyway, it's going to be episode 150 the week after next. And we're doing an interesting episode about your music teacher vision statement. And yeah, hopefully that's going to be a fun one. Now, one last thing before we dive into today's main topic is about this summer. So this summer we're going to be doing a challenge. And because we're just in the planning stages of it now, I wanted to give members the opportunity to help us decide the topic. So I've just posted a link there in the chat. If you're a member of VMT and you want to just chime over and cast your vote, go over and cast your vote, chime in on what it is that you would love to see a challenge about. The challenge is going to be open to members and non-members. It's a free challenge, but I want members to help us decide what it should be so that it's absolutely bang on the money of exactly what you want to hear about this summer, what you want to work on. So 5-day challenges are all about action. So it's going to be daily step-by-step challenges. Those of you who are participated in the Inbox Zen challenge in January will know what this is all about, right? So it's super fun, daily action items, daily challenges, so that we can make progress in one particular area together. And I want to know what you want to see this summer. So definitely go over and cast your vote there if you're a member. If you've been thinking about changing your lesson format, I want to hear from you. What change is it you're wanting to make? And how are you thinking about going about it? Have you tried to change your lesson format in the past? And has it gone well or gone poorly and you need help getting better at making these kinds of changes? Our studios are movable objects, right? They are not stagnant. We might start off with 30-minute lessons, 20-minute lessons, and then want to make a change later because we realize all the fun stuff that we could be including in our lessons. So I want to give you a step-by-step process for making that change, and then we'll go through some of the options for different lesson formats that you might consider in your studio and how these changes would be made for each of those different types of lesson formats. So here's my step-by-step process, and then we'll go through it step-by-step together. We start by hinting, then we announce, then we recommend, then we kiddos, and then we start again. Okay, so yes, it spells harks. I really didn't do that on purpose at first, and then as you can see, I got to the kiddos and I was like, oh, I have to change it to kiddos because then it spells harks. But hint, announce, recommend, kiddos, start again. That's our step-by-step process. So let's take each one of those in turn. Hint is about in your newsletter or some other place where you can mention this conversationally in writing. You give a little hint, a little nudge about the change that you're going to make and why it's exciting. This is not about details. It's not about specifics or getting people to sign up. It's just about a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of a hint. This cool thing is coming. I'm really excited about it because XYZ. That's it, right? So I love to do this in my newsletter. I find it to be a great place to put in these little hints and teases. Then announce. So this is where you officially say, okay, we're making this lesson format change, or we're offering this new type of lessons. Here's what they are. Here's the details. This is where you have to be clear and concise Still friendly, still fun, still excited about it, but much more descriptive. Then you recommend. And this is about specific students. So I like to do this in my students' progress updates. These are the updates that I send to parents. I don't really like calling them reports, although you might think of them like that. They're less formal than that, and they're less about, giving out grades or saying, do better. Let's do better in this area. No, it's just about an update for parents to say, here's how they're tracking, here's the areas we might work on, here's some of our goals for next year, that kind of thing. And in that, at the end of year 1, I will put recommended lesson option for next year, right? So if it's going to be the same, I just type the same thing, they're sticking with the same. But if I'm recommending a change, that's where I would put that official recommendation. And I would follow up on that in emails as well with that wording. That word recommend, if you take nothing out of today in terms of changing your lesson format, except the fact that you need to recommend the lesson format rather than suggest it or offer it, recommend it. It is your professional opinion that they should be in this lesson format. Okay? Right. And then we have kiddos. And this can be actually sprinkled in throughout the first 3 stages because it's a separate audience. With the kiddos, you need to be getting them excited, telling them about these things and those things that you're going to be able to do because of this new format. So say you're making your lessons longer. Well, next year we're going to have more time for games because our lessons are going to be longer. Isn't that going to be awesome? So it's just a little chatter in your lessons. It's not a hard sell, obviously. You're talking to kids. And it's not about guilt-tripping parents into it. It's just about getting kids excited about the prospect of this new lesson format. And then, start again. What do I mean by that? Well, some people are not going to hark, right? They're not going to go with it. And that's fine. And I like to still give them that option. I'm recommending, I'm not insisting. And if I give them that option and they're just not sold on it, or it doesn't work for them at that time, or financially they can't do it right now, don't give up. Continue to recommend that. Continue to come back to it and amp it up and get them excited about it. Don't just give up at one go. So maybe that's next semester, maybe it's next year, but you revisit that with each family. We work with our families for a long time, so we don't just give up after one time of them not moving up in lesson length. Alright, so let's look at some of the different lesson options we might consider. Angela said, I want to change all my students to 45 lessons. I had the ages 7 and under in 30-minute lessons, but it's not enough time. Yeah, the only students I will use 30-minute lessons with is adults. It's the opposite of what people go for, right? We think younger students, shorter attention spans, will go with 30 minutes. No, I want just as much time, if not more, with the younger students so that I can really solidify concepts. And if we're getting up and off the bench and doing lots of games and doing all of these things, as you found, Angela, we need more time, right, to do that. Another change, my private lessons schedule is completely full, so I want to add several mini musicians, that's our program from VMT for preschoolers, classes to my morning and early afternoons. Nice addition. And then we have, let me see, Christy, we stopped buddy lessons this past year because of COVID, but my students have been asking for them again. So going back into them, if your students are already asking for them, Christy. Oh, my words are in a tangle today. Then it should be easy to make that transition back, right? So Corey, now I have 40% of students in 45, 60 and 30-minute lessons, but before it was more like 20-80. And then follow up to say, but but would love to do buddy lesson format next year when COVID isn't affecting our lessons as much. Yeah. Angela, that's funny. They were all turning 8, so they were going to be moving up anyway. That's one of the things about great retention, right? Your students get older. I mean, I'm known for teaching preschoolers by a lot of people, but right now, I don't have any students personally, my own students, that are preschoolers because, you know, they grow up, and if they stay, they get older. Still love teaching preschoolers, so. Shelley, big changes. Beginners going to classes, elementary to buddy lessons, and intermediate advanced to 45 minutes. Interesting. So you've got those 3 different stages there, Shelley. So we've had a lot of different lesson formats mentioned here already, and I want to clear them up for those who are feeling uninitiated right now, because we've used a lot of terms, right? So the format you might be changing. One of the simplest changes that people often want to make, and is not always feel simple to make the change, but it's simple in nature, and that is from 30 minutes or shorter lesson length of some description to 45 minutes or longer in some other way. The most common change is I was doing all 30 and I want to do all 45, or I want to do mostly 45 because I don't have enough time. So that's one of the most common. A lot of people go for 40 because they feel like they could get there more easily, or they want to have 5-minute breaks between each student, stuff like that. I will say, if you want 5-minute breaks because you want to take 5-minute breaks, I think that is fabulous. I don't love leaving 5 minutes because you always run over, because you're just going to run over anyway. So if that's the reason you're doing it, you need to wrap up 2 minutes early, and that needs to be part of your lesson process. But yeah, all 45-minute lessons or something like that is great. So that's one change. You might also consider switching to something like buddy lessons, which we've mentioned a few times already. So that is my preferred lesson format, and that is the lesson format. I haven't worked out the percentages recently, but maybe 80% of my students are in buddy lessons, something like that, 70-80%. So buddy lessons are lessons with an overlapping portion in the middle of the lesson. So I always use Johnny and Susie. Let's try and come up with some more interesting names. Ivan comes for 30 minutes one-on-one with me. Regular 30-minute lesson in some ways. Then Samantha comes as well. So Samantha is here, Ivor is still here, and they have 30 minutes together. Then Ivor leaves and Samantha stays for her 30 minutes of solo time. Now you can change the different ways. You can do all sorts of different permutations there. You can have 40 minutes of solo and 20 minutes of overlap, or you can have 20 and 20 if you want to do shorter lessons, or if you want to use this for students who don't practice much and you just want shorter lesson times with them, stuff like that. But for me, 30 and 30 works great. It's an hour, and I like to have extra buddy lesson time. I started doing 40 and 20, and then which means 40 minutes of solo time and 20 minutes of overlapping time, but I found I wanted more overlapping time, and my students did too. When I made the announcement that we were switching to 30 minutes of overlapping time, they were thrilled. They thought it was great that they would have more overlapping time, and no parents batted an eye. You know, they don't think about it in this way that we think they might, or at least in my experience they don't. Good clients are not going to come back to you and say, oh, well, is the price going to reduce because technically this is 5 minutes less of your time or whatever. No. I mean, they might, but like I say, they're just not your ideal clients if they're doing that. So that's buddy lessons, overlapping in the middle. That's my preferred option. I also teach some solo lessons though. And then, let me see, the partner lessons. So that term was used as well. Partner lessons are, for me now, this is how I define these terms. There's variation here. But partner lessons to me should mean the students are together for the entire lesson time. So it is a group lesson of 2 students. Then you have group lessons, which would be 3 and above for me. For instance, the mini musicians groups are 4 to 8 students are ideal for that lesson format, that lesson program, and those would be considered group lessons. And then you have other changes people make, switching to some kind of hybrid approach, often between group workshops and one-on-one lessons or buddy lessons. So where you have like one group workshop week per month, and everyone does groups that week, or you have groups in addition to regular private lessons, as I do, maybe weekly or maybe infrequently, like every so often, like in my studio. So my students have group workshops that they can attend not quite once a month. No, sorry, that's not quite right. It's 2 a month not quite every month. Oh my god, that's so confusing. I'm sorry. It's 12 per year. Let's go with that. So, no matter which of those changes you are making, this process will work for you. Hint, announce, recommend, don't suggest, and then get the kiddos amped up about it, and then repeat if you need to. Michelle said, I would love to switch to 45 or buddy lessons, but the thought of teaching longer into the evenings to make the format work is overwhelming. I think I'd have to cut 10 students to make it work. So that's really interesting. And thank you for that, Michelle. That's definitely a factor. So if it is a case that you can't afford the extra time, you might go with just adding on a shorter overlapping time. So say you had all 30 minutes right now, Michelle. Maybe you make it buddy lessons with a 15-minute overlap. Maybe you can, facilitate that. You have time for it. For me, I had a lot of students in 45-minute lessons when I made this switch. So I wasn't actually always taking up more time in my schedule. So yeah. I was also expanding hours at the time when I made the switch, but that's definitely a factor and something to consider, and you have to make things work for you. You can have the most perfect lesson format idea in the world, but if it doesn't work in your life, what's the point? This is, our businesses are part of our lives and they need to work with what we actually do. Carrie, what is my process of matching students for buddy lessons? Okay, so for buddy lessons, I am looking at the schedule and I'm trying to make it that I have students matched up by age as much as I can. So ideally students are going to be within a year or 2 of each other in age, not level. I will have a lot of buddies who are not matched in level at all. Like one is in level 1 and the other one's grade 3. That's fine with me, because I can do all sorts of things with that pairing. I can play multi-level games, and with duets I can do unevenly leveled duets, and with improv I can easily make one child's improv accompaniment just the root notes and the other one is doing like a chord vamp, right? So they can be practicing different skills through that. And the student who's further along, when we are doing slightly beginner concepts and covering those, they are reinforcing that so they can help to teach it and they can take a supportive role there, and that's great for their own learning as well. And also their sense of accomplishment, right, that they got to that stage. So age first, level second. That is my way of matching them up. Mary, do I find practice at home time increases with buddy lessons? No. If you haven't solved practice with your students, buddy lessons won't help. People sometimes say that with group lessons because there's that peer pressure factor, but because of what we're doing during buddy time, it won't necessarily impact them. Now, what I will say makes a difference to your time practicing at home is how much fun you're having in lessons. Not for every kid, and that's not a cure-all, but it is a factor. And so buddy lessons tend to be more fun. I know I'm biased, but they do tend to have more fun in them. And so that might motivate students to practice more because they feel like piano lessons are this awesome fun thing that they do. Again, that's not a cure-all, so that just might help in that way. Okay. Do I charge each buddy student for a 45-minute lesson? No. So, let's go back to some maths. Sorry, but let's do it. I shouldn't apologize, right? Maths gets such a bad rap and it's so unfair. But I feel like oral maths, like spoken maths, needs an apology. Because it's not going to be super clear, but I'll be as clear as I can. So, my buddy lessons are 30, 30, 30. That means that if you put the two students together, they take up 90 minutes, okay? So in my schedule, every pair of buddy students takes 90 minutes. That means that in my schedule, the real time each student takes up is 45 minutes. That's what they take from me. It's just combined and then broken up again, right? But each student is taking 45 minutes out of my timetable. However, they are getting 60 minutes. They take 45 from me, but they get 60. They receive 60. I hope you're with me so far. So what I charge them for is halfway between 45 and 60. Now, I've been doing buddy lessons for many years, so at this moment those rates are just standard, they're set and they're increasing. But that is the initial calculation when I moved from solo to offering buddy lessons. It was to split the difference. That's what I think personally is fair. We have a calculator on our site. If you go to the Colourful Keys site, to the blog, search for calculator, I have a calculator there for you that will do that maths, so you don't actually have to do it. But it is splitting the difference. So if it's 45 in your schedule versus 60 that they're receiving, then, right, that's 15 divided by 2. Let's call it 7 to be nice. And so you're charging them for 52 minutes. So you get paid for 105 minutes, although you only teach 90. That is because it takes more lesson planning time to work out, especially in the beginning, to get used to the buddy lesson format and plan for those two students together. It's just going to be more complex in the beginning, and you do need to allow for that time. Hopefully that helps, and it wasn't too hard to follow in terms of the maths, but again, check out that calculator. Yep, Mary, let's just clarify that. So 30 individual, 30 combined, 30 individual. Yes, that is correct. All right. Sorry. I accidentally muted myself and then I thought, oh, am I unmuting? Have I gotten in a tangle there? Anyway. Yes, so that is my buddy lesson time. Let me check on any other questions with that. Yes. I think I've already answered this subsequently, Gary, but just to follow up on that. Yes, it means they are getting a fee increase, but they're also getting extra. Nice. Okay, any other questions about switching and the changeover? It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to cause a revolt. It doesn't have to cause an uprising. It can be manageable. Those 5 stages are simple, but they work because you're getting people excited about it, you're emphasizing why it's great for them, and it makes them excited about the change, right? So no matter what change you're making, that will help it go smoother. Make sure you have each one of those elements and make sure you're recommending especially, and it will go more smoothly for you. All right, keep your questions coming. Just type question at the start of them so I make sure to come back to them. And remember to hint, announce, recommend, involve the kiddos, and then start again if necessary. And we will get into some web reviews. Alright, so here are the things that we are looking for in our web reviews. We want these sites to have enough text. They need to tell us some things in words. Clear calls to action. Clear buttons that tell us what to do and where to go and what they want from us, right? Consistency. Simple colors, simple fonts, clear branding throughout. We want them to showcase the teacher themselves, not look like they could be any teacher and be generic, but this person, what's their style, who are they? Real photos of them if possible, and a simple menu structure. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the first site. This is Owlet Music. I might have imagined this, but were you live earlier? If you were, please do say hi to us. Great to have you here for this review. So, when I arrive on this site, I've got this changing header up the top here. I've got a super cute logo. Oh, and I love that tagline actually. That is fantastic. Where serious music comes to play. Okay, I love that. And the colour is nice and simple and bright, and I like it. I'm not gone on this slider though. Honestly, I would prefer to see just one static image, and I would prefer it to be something more personal. These are quite generic, and like you can't really see what that is, and this might be different on different screen sizes as well. So keep that in mind, like as you look at this might be not what you're used to seeing, but it is affected by screen sizes, so do test that out, right? Grab the corner of your browser and just mess around with how it looks, the frame of it, and test it out on your phone and all of that kind of stuff to see how it looks there. But think about replacing that. Now, what I don't have here on the homepage really is a call to action. I've got a few, but not one big strong one. So book online, it's probably what you most want me to do. But I also have our programs, and I also have about looking at the same level. It's fine to have all of these, but if this is the one you want me to do, make it look different. Make it a bigger button, make it a different color, make it bold, make it stand out in some other way, right? Let's Chat is, yeah, that's great to have that. It's like little chat box, that's nice. But yeah, just the call to action, and then some more text as we come back to again and again here, so you're not alone there, but you need to write a lot more on your homepage. It doesn't have to go up the top, right? We don't want to make it look wordy, but we do want to put some content here so that Google can read it and so that people have more to read if they just start scrolling. This is all about how different users interact with a site. Some people will arrive here and they'll just click on the buttons. Some will go straight to the menu, and some will scroll thinking, oh, what's this about? Da-dee-da-dee-da, right? That's what I think is in their head when they're doing that. And so you want to facilitate their style too. Let's take a quick look around. So we've got our programs. Simple menu structure, by the way. Check that box. Well done. Mini musicians. Hi. Nice selection. 4 classes on the go, do you? Maybe there's just options for new year sign up there. Yeah, okay. I think this is great. Nice. Now, book online. So you got an actual booking software. Just going to see how this works. Looks quite nifty. Nice. My only hesitation there is it feels like I'm booking one class. If that's what you want it to feel like, great. Maybe you do them one-off, but if you want people to book in on an ongoing basis, I would maybe rethink how some of that looks, because I feel like I'm just booking 1 week. And then I need a lot more about you, Amanda. So this is great. I wouldn't put founder's notes, I'd just put about Amanda, nice and simple, but a lot more. More about you. Like what you have there is great, it just needs more. And then FAQ. Yeah, this is all good. My last note for you, Amanda, is going to be this top corner. Instead of login, I would maybe put current students or something, just so that it's clear to people that, like, that's not for them. Don't worry about it. If they're a prospective student, do you know what I mean? But well done on the site. It's looking really great. Our next one is MF Music Studio. Is it like Mezzo Forte, or is it? We'll discover. Okay, shaping smart musicians. Another great tagline. I love that. Okay, here we do have a strong call to action. I think it could be bold, but that's me being picky. Just so it sounds like that a little bit more, but it's looking pretty good. Join us today. Okay, so I would send that to somewhere where it's clear what I'm doing. If, like, so you say to them, if you want to join our studio, send me a message. Like, just give them some more, connect the two things better. That's what I'm trying to say. So if I click on join us today, I'm expecting it to be a sign up form. Right? So instead it could be just make an inquiry, and then I'm expecting a contact form. Or it could be join us today, and then on the contact form you say, if you want to join our studio, let me know the days and times you're available and I'll be in touch, or something like that, right? Just so you connect them a little bit more in terms of the journey there. I love that. What a cutie. Love that photo. And some great testimonials. Awesome. Oh, 3-step process. Oh, this is all so good. Really polished, really well done. Great homepage. I love it. Okay, this is not quite a pet peeve, but it's a common thing. The top menu item, I believe, it's a personal preference, that's what I mean, I believe should be clickable. Because if I know I need to click on the sub-menu items, but I'm not sure everyone does. I feel like a lot of people click on it, because sometimes they are clickable, and you're just expecting to go somewhere. So it's fine to have the sub-menu, but make this also clickable, and it should go to your general about page. Nice. Lovely. Let's try... Oh, that's going to be MMS. Ah. And you have a waiting list. If you do genuinely have a waiting list, I would send them there from the homepage rather than the contact form, actually. But yeah, this is looking really great. So hopefully some of those recommendations have been helpful for you. Oh yeah. Is in your name, isn't it? Yeah, okay, Margaret. So MF just stands for you. I was just curious whether it was Mezzo Forte. But yeah, really good job on this. Hopefully that some of those suggestions are useful for you. Alright folks, I'm going to double check if we had any extra questions that I missed. I feel like I got to a lot of them in the flow today, but we'll make sure. So Donna, I understand the combining from a teacher standpoint, but how do you tell parents the day and time? Who has Tuesdays at 4? Who has Thursdays at 5? I'm not sure I understand the question, Donna. I presume you're referring to buddy lessons. It's the same as telling them any other time though, because so I'm scheduling Sandra back to back with Steve, okay? And so Sandra's going to start at 4 on Tuesdays because that works for her schedule. I'm taking their schedule into account and the preference form that they've given me. So they say Tuesday afternoons after 3:30 work for them. I give them 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. Steve can take any time from 4, so I give them 4:30. And so Sandra is going to come from 4 to 5. Steve's going to come from 4:30 to 5:30. And I just tell parents that with their time. maybe your question was different to that though, so let me know if I didn't answer it fully. Gabrielle, I'm applying for a new job teaching a class of 12 middle schoolers in a school setting. Are there VMT games you'd recommend for general music class activities? So I've never taught general music myself, so I'll put that caveat in there for you, Gabrielle. But I know that several members are like a lot of them are general music as well as teaching private, and they use their games in both. If you're talking about their first few lessons, I would just take some fun stuff, like, not that they're not all fun, but like not requiring knowledge, just to get to know them. So some of our oral games would be a great starting spot. For middle schoolers, you could do the ones where you match them to the owl shapes and stuff like that. But I would also suggest just bringing along like the gelato spinner as you're getting started, which is our icebreaker game. So that would be a great place to just get to know them a little bit. Yeah, maybe gauge some of what they know about music, but mostly just have some fun together. And you said in a school setting, but you didn't say whether it is like a piano lab or something, or whether it's just general music where you have instruments available. But if you are going to have a piano lab available and they're middle schoolers, I would actually start the chord crash course with them, because you're going to get them playing chords, you can get them jamming in all sorts of ways from that, and you can easily adapt it. Middle school is age 12 to 14. Have I got that right? We don't have middle school here, so if I've got that wrong, let me know. I think that's right. So they should have enough dexterity and actually take to chords quite well by that age, and so some of them can do just thirds or open fifths, but a lot of them will be able to do the full chords right away, and you could get them really grooving, and you could do some backing track stuff. That's if it's a piano situation. Okay. Oh, Angela, where did I get the countdown timer? I find it really difficult to make small talk as parents are joining the Zoom recital, and that clock would be perfect. That's so funny. So, Angela, you would need to be using Ecamm Live, as far as I know, to use it, which is the software I use for streaming. Now, you can use that within Zoom, so if that's something you're already doing, I can't remember. That is, I use it in my online lessons, but that's a separate software. So if you are, it is from Livestreaming Pros. Livestreamingpros.com. They have a little store there, and they have them already set up where you can have that countdown. However, there are a lot simpler countdowns available. I can't think of any option that would work in Zoom though, so it would have to be in Ecamm Live, and that would be the easiest. Drag and drop. You literally, like, they give you a folder and you just pull it into Ecamm Live, and it's so easy to set up. And then the music, you need to get something in the public domain, obviously, for that. Or something that is royalty free, basically. If you're paying for it, that's fine. But you need it to be royalty free because you're going to stream it. So, yeah. Let me double check we've got all the questions so far. What pitfalls besides technology would happen with adults? Are we talking about online adults or just general stuff? Yeah, let me know. Follow up on that. Pitfalls with adults besides technology in online groups, which I think you were talking about earlier, would be, for me, the concern would be the shyness. Adults can be very reticent to play in front of each other. It can be very hard to get them to do that, and so that would be my concern, is make sure we have icebreakers and ways where they can, like, you may want to do portions of the lesson where they can play along and test something and practice it on mute along with you before they do it where somebody else can hear them. That would be my question mark there, if that's the situation we're talking about. Oh, Donna, follow up there. Oh, okay. I can't. I'll do my best. Let's try. What did Sharon say? Right. So Sharon was saying it's hard to get the schedules to coordinate. Corey say the same thing. Yeah. Okay, that was the comment from Corey you were referring to there. So buddy lessons makes for difficult scheduling compared to private lessons, as you have to get a daytime both families can agree to. Yeah. And I know you're not a fan of my scheduling method, Corey, because there was that post on Facebook yesterday. But I know it's because your parents didn't do it. So I'm just gonna put it out there. Maybe your results may vary, but the way I do the scheduling, it might be useful if I show you guys, since you're probably a lot of you coming up to re-enrollment time as well. Let me show you in case it's helpful. My enrollment form. Again, this is something where I don't give out the link normally to people as an example, because I just think it'll get confusing, and I don't want you to fill it in or it to be public really in that way. It's not sensitive data though. So let me see. This is my enrollment form for next year that is set up, and the way I do it is I have availability here, and I tell people please deselect all the times that will not work for you. And so if they say we're never available before 3:30, they need to go through and do this, and then, you know, maybe they untick all of these. This is partially annoying on purpose, I'm going to be honest with you, because the parents who, or the students who are never available, they need to recognize how difficult they're being, and it normally does come with an apology. When they untick all but one, which is last year's time, they will write here, so sorry, like, I know she's overscheduled, but she just won't quit anything. But most of them leave me with a lot of options. They really do leave me with the maximum they can. And so with that, I can match them up. And I'm very used to that particular puzzle. And I also think my brain just works this way. So it is definitely not the easiest task in the world, but it's not a huge challenge for me. Once I have all of that, right? I have all of the different options available, and I can see where people match up and where they don't. And a lot of them will keep the same buddy from one year to the next. Like, I'll be able to move both of them to the same spot, or I can keep them in the same spot. But it's not my preference to say everybody keeps their same spot unless you tell me you need to change, simply because I know so many of them will have to change. So let's say 20% need to change, and 80% say, I want to keep my same spot. Well, now those 20% can only move within those 20% of times. And that feels to me, maybe I'm overly sensitive in some way, but that feels like a penalty for something that really wasn't their fault. Like, they changed school. They moved up from primary to secondary school, and so everything's changing. Or their mum's work schedule changed or something. And so I like to have that reset point every year, because I feel like families do need it in terms of managing all their crazy schedules. That being said, if it works well for you for them to keep the same spot unless they ask to change, great. I mean, don't touch it. But I know for me, it would be too large a portion of people that need to change, and I couldn't just like swap two students with each other. It's just not going to work. So reset every year. Some students will end up back in the same spot, but many won't. And I match them up doing that. Sharon, I don't really use scheduling software. That's it. So they send me that, and then my scheduling software is called Google Sheets, and my brain, this one right here. That's it. It's just me staring at it until it clicks. Yeah, hopefully that helps with the scheduling issue. But yeah, if they can stay the same, great, but it's just not going to work that way for me. And you have to know your own local community, right, as well. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful today. Hopefully your lesson format changes go smoothly. If you have any follow-up question, I'll answer that before we close then. Sharon, no, it is not a Google form. I wouldn't know how to make it pre-checked in a Google form. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I'm sure someone has found a way to do that. I just don't use Google Forms enough to advise, but that is the setup I would recommend. Mine is a Gravity form, which is a WordPress plugin. So my site is on WordPress. I use Gravity Forms anyway because I use it for a lot of member stuff and all of these things. So it is set up in Gravity Forms. That means I can have them pre-checked and a lot of different things the way I want it. And it also means that I have PayPal integrated. So they pay their re-enrollment fee, their registration fee, right there in the form. So they can't submit it without paying the fee via PayPal. I don't use PayPal for the rest of the year. I just use it for that registration fee so that it can be tied to the form and I don't have to go through my bank and figure out, like, match up all the registration fees with the forms and see who sent what. Because in previous years, and especially like when we had paper forms, that is the only thing I didn't like about them, is they would give it to me and they'd go, I'm doing the bank transfer today, or I've got to check but I don't have the form yet. And I was like, no, just give me the two together. Because otherwise how am I supposed to... Right, so I'd be chasing one person for a form and another person for a reg fee, and that's annoying. So I like that about it. That's a bit of a rant, but there you go. Mary, our elementary school activities calendar comes out late in September. So parents sometimes want a different time change. No, I don't stand firm. I wouldn't say that. I do say that I will accommodate changes if I can. But most of them can guess their new calendar around here. So if they know that they're moving up to level 3 of hockey, they know it's usually on a Thursday. And then, so the ones who want changes based on their guesses is few and far between. It's like a couple of students and we deal with it and I nudge things around and we make it work. So I do try to accommodate them and I always have been able to in the past. I've never had to say, well, that's it, you're out of the studio. Anyway, so yes, hope you had fun today. It's been great to hang out with you. As always, next week we're going to be talking about that creating your model music studio parent, right? How do we take someone from being a new parent in your studio all the way through to be that perfect piano parent or music parent that you love, that supports everything you do and is so great with practice and does all the things that you want, right? How do we get there? We'll look at that together next week. In the meantime, I hope you have an awesome week and I'll see you then. Bye guys.